Becoming a parent is one of the most major life transitions you can go through, so I've pulled together 15 things that I wish I would have known before I became a parent. The first thing is that nothing can prepare you for it. I know that sounds crazy because I'm going to be sharing a bunch of other things that I wish I would have known to hopefully help prepare me a little bit better. That being said, the best training is on-the-job training when it comes to having a baby. You can do all of the research you want. You can hear stories and anecdotes from your friends and family or people telling you things like I'm going to be telling you, and hopefully they can help you a little bit. But again, there are going to be so many bumps along the road. There are going to be so many joyous things too. It is just impossible to anticipate all of those things. And it's also impossible to know how you're going to feel when you become a parent. You might have an idea that you're going to be a really strict parent, and then you give birth to your baby and everything flips and you just want to give in to their every need. Or you think you're going to be really loosey-goosey with rules, and then you find yourself being the parent who's really strict on all of the different safety guidelines and things like that because you care about them so much. Long story short, you don't know until you go through it. The second thing that I just found to be so special that a lot of people don't talk about is that not only do you become a parent and you get to go through that change of becoming a mom, but you get to watch your spouse become a parent as well. I have a second channel, Sophisticated Organization, and I did a Q&A on my channel there talking about becoming a mom. And I remember one of the things that I talked about, and if I go back and watch that video, I remember getting kind of choked up thinking about it. But watching my husband become a father was, it's even making me emotional thinking about it again, so incredibly special. It made me fall even more in love with him than I was already in love with him before having a kid. But the way he was there for our son and the way that he was there for me, especially through pregnancy and all of that, but also giving birth and supporting me as a new mom, was something I didn't prepare myself for. And it really was just the most special thing. And it continues to be as our child gets older, watching him interact with him as he gets older and grows. I just can't wait to watch that relationship develop. The other thing that I didn't expect on a positive note is that your birth experience is unique to you, and mine actually ended out to be a pretty positive birth experience. I think I was worried about so many different things that could have gone wrong. I didn't think about the fact that there could be so many positives other than the joyous moment of meeting your baby. I had a vaginal birth with an epidural at a hospital. I ended up being induced because I went way past my due date. I was so worried about getting induced. I really preferred to have a vaginal delivery and didn't want to have a C-section, so I was really worried through that whole process. You hear stories about people who want an epidural and then it's too late and they can't get one. And just because I had an induction and it didn't end in a C-section, obviously that doesn't mean that that's how it turns out every single time. We had some highs and lows throughout the induction and throughout my delivery. Our baby's heart rate dropped quite a few times, which was really scary. I won't lie to you, contractions are extremely painful, especially pre-epidural. So if you're going the natural route, prepare yourself for that. But if you take it one step at a time, you can work through it. I came up with like a little mantra for myself. If you're watching this and you were previously an athlete in any capacity, even like high school sports, I was a competitive figure skater and I kind of tapped into that when I was giving birth. Like, I am not here to mess around. I am going to get this baby out of me, get the baby out safely, and really felt empowered and had an overall very, very positive birth experience. I didn't think about how things could have gone right, and that probably would have eased my anxiety going into labor a little bit more. If you're watching this and you're pregnant, I'm sure you already know everyone has an opinion. It starts when you become pregnant. People tell you things about what you should eat or shouldn't eat and start giving you all of the parenting advice. I just wish I would have given myself a little bit more permission to hear that advice and know that I didn't have to take every piece of advice for a variety of different reasons. But one of the main ones is because what works for somebody else may not necessarily work for you, and it might not work for your baby, which is the most important. I remember this specifically when I was making my baby registry. People tell you, oh my gosh, my child loved fill in the blank item. You have to put it on your baby registry. It was one of our most used things. You put it on your baby registry, you have a baby, and guess what? You never use it. And that very thing that works so well for them just might not work out for you. A lot of times you hear about different swings. Some babies like to swing forward and backwards. Other babies like to swing side to side. Again, you don't know till you have your baby what they're gonna like. So it is a bit difficult with some of those items because you can't predict what your baby is going to like, but there are also things that maybe boil down to parenting style or other things like that. So just know whatever advice you're getting, you don't have to take it. You can listen to it, take it in, absorb it, think about it, and give yourself permission to say, you know what, that's great that they did that, but it's not really gonna work for me, and move on. If you're like me and you don't have a lot of people in your life that are also having new babies, I was one of the first ones in my friend group, both college friends and high school friends, to have a baby. So I didn't have a lot of friends to talk to, and a lot of my family members have grown-up kids or aren't having kids yet. So I was in a little bit of isolation. Just know you are not alone. Whatever you're going through, whatever your baby is going through, I guarantee some other parent, some other baby has probably gone through it, and there's something you can find online to ease your nerves a little bit. I'm gonna put a little asterisk next to that and say, don't go down a rabbit hole. Don't freak yourself out by using Google in the middle of the night, going under the sheets and figuring out about some little baby rash or something. You don't wanna cause more anxiety. This is something more so that I wish I would have known, that would have calmed me down, that other people are going through the same things. One resource that I found to be really useful was the What to Expect app. I had that on my phone. It's actually really helpful because there are so many different forums on there. There's more to the app that talks about your pregnancy, and then beyond that, it will talk about your baby stages that they're going through. But I found the little community tab kind of helpful. They have forums on trying to get pregnant, pregnancy after loss, local forums, so you can find one that's local to your city or state. But the most helpful one that I really like is they have a birth month group. So even when you get pregnant and you're expecting a baby in, whatever month it's going to be in whatever year, they'll have a group started for all of those parents. And I used the app when I was pregnant. So all of these women would be posting about different pregnancy symptoms they were having, or different things about their babies, were people getting their nurseries ready. So sometimes I would see like a post about people getting their nursery ready, and we didn't even have nursery furniture. But then I would see a bunch of other people posting, we don't have anything ready yet either. So that would ease my nerves a bit. And now that I'm a parent, I still follow along in the exact same forum. So all of those women that were pregnant at the same time as me have kids that are the same ages. They talk about like, what size diaper is your child in now? All of that stuff. So you'll find people that have their child in a crazy size, larger diaper than your baby, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, why is my baby in such a small diaper? And then you'll find somebody who has a smaller diaper than you, or talking about baby milestones, all of that stuff. It has just calmed my nerves to pop on there every now and then. And I've gone through phases where I don't look at it for a couple of weeks or even months, and other times when I'm on there every day, just kind of interested in scrolling. But that has eased my nerves to know that I am not alone with whatever we're going through. One thing I didn't prepare for was the fact that some things are going to come naturally and other things aren't. You sometimes think that when you become a parent and you become a mom, it's just going to be mom's intuition and you're going to know all of these things. That is true about a lot of things. And then other things, it's the complete opposite, and you're going to have to use Google and those forums and stuff like that I was talking about, or call your mom up on the phone. I had to do that numerous times. I still do that and ask for advice, because some things you just aren't gonna naturally know how to do. I babysat a lot when I was younger, but there was still this gap in my life post babysitting and pre having a child where I didn't have a lot of interaction with newborn babies. So I hadn't changed a diaper in a really long time. I hadn't held a newborn baby in I don't even remember how long. And then all of a sudden you give birth and you have a baby and you're responsible for taking care of them and responsible for all of these different things. So prepare yourself as much as you can by taking a birth course, and one that probably covers some things beyond birth, like giving your baby a bath. And I can actually link the course that I took, because I took an online course that I found to be really helpful. It had a lot more beyond giving birth. But just know that it's okay if not everything comes to you completely naturally. Parenting style is a thing. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned that already in this video, parenting style. I didn't consider that before becoming a parent and understand what type of parent I was going to be. I probably could have guesstimated what type of parent I was going to be before I had our baby because of my personality. I'm pretty like strict and rigid, and I've become that parent that really likes to follow what the American Academy of Pediatrics says. And I wish I would have thought about those things ahead of time and known that that was going to be the direction my parenting was going to trend, and talk to my husband about that a little bit more because his personality is a lot more easygoing, go with the flow. So we could have talked about more of a middle ground about a lot of things before having a child. But also when you think about registering for baby items, I registered for a lot of things that I thought were cute, or like we talked about before, that friends and family recommended, and didn't think about these guidelines and all of that stuff. I will link a video where I talk about some of my baby favorites and talk through this whole concept if you're interested in watching that as well. This one's specific to breastfeeding because I exclusively breastfed. We did give our baby bottles, but bottles of breast milk. Breastfeeding is emotional. I prepared myself for how physically exhausting and difficult it was going to be. I got all of the things to prepare my body to breastfeed and thought that part through. I did know that breastfeeding can be like a beautiful bond, but I didn't know and think through how difficult mentally it can be and how I would have so many emotions tied to breastfeeding. We had an overall great experience. My baby was able to latch pretty quickly and effectively, but before my milk came in, he just wasn't getting enough nutrition and couldn't stop crying. They suggested supplementing with formula in the hospital. And so we did give him a couple of bottles of formula in the hospital, and they sent us home with a couple of bottles as well. And I remember feeling like such a complete failure for giving my baby like 2 bottles of formula. First of all, whatever way you choose to feed your baby is great. I know a lot of women can't physically breastfeed, and I did think through a lot of those obstacles, but I personally chose to try to breastfeed if I was physically capable of it. I didn't think about the emotional aspect of it, and if I was emotionally capable of it. When I was in the hospital and we gave him that formula, it just immediately sank into me, and I could feel all of those thoughts that just weren't true coming to my head. Same with when I came home from the hospital. I actually did burst into tears one night when my husband suggested that we use formula again because we used it in the hospital and it calmed him down so much. And I just let him know all of the feelings that I was having, and he was really supportive of me. But it just kind of almost threw me for a loop, the fact that those words and those thoughts came out of me. And that first month or so is just so difficult with breastfeeding. And I want to say, if you are thinking about breastfeeding or you're just beginning that journey, it does get a lot easier. You get into a bit of a groove, but there are bumps in the middle too. There are things like clogged ducts. I had a baby that had some reflux issues, so he was really fussy while he was breastfeeding a lot of times. And I had comments from family members or friends say like, is this really working for him? Because he would be so fussy while he was breastfeeding. And even if I was covered or something and family was nearby, they could tell that he was just upset a lot of times while he was eating. And he would be the same way with a bottle. But I took those comments personally and like I was doing something wrong, even though when I reflect back on it, I know it was nothing that I was doing, but it was those emotions again tied with the breastfeeding. And then now I'm actually finished with my breastfeeding journey. I'm so proud of myself. I made it past a year of exclusive breastfeeding and decided to be done. And making that decision was not easy, but it was the right decision for us and our family. Even so, the emotions came back just as strong closing out the breastfeeding journey as it did beginning it. And it's just another thing I didn't anticipate. Something else that would have been nice to be easier on myself about was the fact that babies cry. Bear with me. It sounds obvious. Yes, babies cry, but sometimes there's kind of nothing you can do to help your baby or prevent them from crying. For example, if you've changed their diaper, you've recently fed them, they're not overtired, you've made sure that they're the right temperature, and your baby is still crying, that's okay. And I don't think I knew that it was okay if your baby is crying. Sometimes you actually want them to maybe push and be a little bit uncomfortable, if that makes sense. So tummy time is a really good example. A lot of babies hate tummy time. You still want to give your child tummy time and encourage them to be on their tummy. You don't want them to be uncomfortable and force them to be in a position that they don't want to be in, and you don't want to torture your child by any means. But a little bit of fussing around while they're on their tummy is actually beneficial for them. We found a lot of times when our child was starting to get kind of fussy while on tummy time, that's when he made some of the biggest moves and started lifting his head up, or maybe pushed past to roll himself out of that position. There are other times that it's just unavoidable. The first time I was in the car alone with him was a great example. I had to go to a doctor's appointment with him, and he cried and screamed the entire way. Granted, it was a 10-minute drive and there was nothing I could do about it. He was safely in his car seat. I had recently fed him. He had a clean diaper, all of that stuff, but he just cried, and that's okay. If I was going on a 2-hour car ride or something, I definitely would have pulled over. But sometimes your baby's just gonna cry, and it doesn't make you a bad parent for letting them cry a little bit. This is such a good one. Everything is a phase. You know that babies grow and develop really quickly. That's a given before you're a parent. We all know that. But something I didn't think about was the phases of you feeling like, oh yeah, I've got this. I've figured this out. Like, my child is now on this nap schedule. Things are great. We're in a routine. The second you feel like that, it's about to change. It is going to be a different nap routine, or maybe it could be the reverse. Your baby is sleeping terrible at night. Next minute you know, they're going to be sleeping great, or the other way around. Or as you're starting to feed them, they're loving a certain food, then they hate that food. Everything is a phase. So if it's a phase that you're loving, soak it up, savor it. If it's a phase that you're not enjoying and something isn't great, don't worry about it. It will probably pass and things will get better. Every baby is unique. And yes, I knew this before I became a parent, but the thing that I needed to know was that every child is unique. So it's not necessarily everything is tied to the parenting. Some kids are just better sleepers than others. Some kids have a little bit more of a colicky personality. Our baby wanted to be constantly held, and not only did he want to be held when he was a newborn, but he wanted to be held while you were standing up. I remember I had a friend that I called while I was on maternity leave and was chatting with her, and she said to me, isn't it just so great? You get to spend your whole day snuggling on the couch and watching movies with your baby and just cuddling up under a blanket, and you just hang out all day, and isn't it just the best? And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong, or what is wrong with my baby? Because we didn't do a whole lot of sitting down. I remember his favorite thing to do was walking up and down the stairs. That's a lot of times how I would get him to sleep, is I would carry him and just walk up and down the stairs, up and down the stairs. And like, I had this little path and loop that I'd walk through the house because he loved to be held while moving, and I couldn't sit down with him, so I felt like I was doing something wrong. But I wasn't necessarily doing anything wrong. That was just his personality and preference. My brother has twins, and that is the greatest example of how every child is unique and not everything is tied to the parents and their parenting, because those two boys are so different, have their own personalities, have different abilities, have so many different unique things about them, and they were raised the exact same way at the exact same time. So don't feel like everything is a reflection of you as a parent. Obvious but true, your day revolves around your baby. I had so many expectations of the things that I could get done while I had a newborn. I obviously have a YouTube channel. I actually have 2 YouTube channels and run a small business. I'm also a full-time attorney, and I love to cook. I like to have a clean house. I just felt like I could do all of those things and have a baby, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I was wrong. I remember saying like, oh, if I had to, I could probably still work from home and wouldn't need daycare or a nanny or something, and I could just make it work. No way could I have done that. Your world revolves around your child, and anything else you can get done is basically just a cherry on top. This might sound contradictory to what I just said, but you can get done more than you think. And I know I was just saying that I had all these expectations that I could work and have a YouTube channel and all of that with a newborn and have no problem. On the other hand, I heard so many anecdotes and stories from new moms saying things like, oh my gosh, I have no time to shower, or I can't cook dinner, all of these different things. I also internalized that and heard that narrative a lot and thought to myself, I'm not gonna have any time to even shower or cook, which is something that's relaxing to me. And then when I had a baby, I realized babies sleep a whole lot, especially newborns. They're napping constantly. They can stay awake for like an hour at a time, if that, depending on how old your baby is. So there's a lot of downtime, especially if you are somebody that puts your baby down in a crib or bassinet or pack and play or whatever it might be. But you can have some free time and you should be able to hopefully shower and do some things that you enjoy while your baby sleeps. The other thing I wish I would have known that relates to this is that baby wearing is the best mom hack there is out there. If you prefer contact naps, because it is so special to have your little one sleep on you. And I know some babies have a lot of trouble being put down. So the earlier thing that I said about you have a lot of free time when your child naps might not feel so true for you if you prefer to hold your child while they sleep or they struggle a lot. Our baby slept the longest when I would baby wear him. So I tried to baby wear him for one nap a day. So I would put him in the baby carrier when he was getting kind of close to the nap zone, and I would just walk around the house. I was able to do dishes. I could cook. I could talk on the phone. Newborn babies, there are so many different sounds that can go around them, and they just sleep through all of it. They have no problem. So I used that time as me time or time to get stuff done around the house and was able to feel really productive and accomplished while still feeling like I was bonding with my newborn babies. So if you don't have a baby carrier, I will link my favorites in the description box below, especially for the newborn phase and then kind of that like more 3-month phase as they get a little bit older. The last thing I wish I would have thought through is your teamwork with your spouse can make such a difference in your overall mental health and well-being as you move into this phase of parenthood. We all know that parents that work as a team together are going to be much more successful, but I'm more so specifically talking about the way that you handle your time and that you give each other some time back, but also spend time together. So we've found a really great groove of spending quality time together with our child. We do so many things together, the three of us. When my husband's done with work and I'm done with work, we spend a lot of family time, the three of us, but there are also moments where we break apart. On the weekends, my husband would go take our son for a walk and give me like 30 minutes to get myself ready, uninterrupted. A lot of times I would take him to the grocery store with me and give my husband some time. Those things, if you're not a parent yet, might not seem like huge gestures or a lot of time to have, oh, 30 minutes, that's great. But it really, really makes such a difference if you make a point to find a way to give your spouse time alone for just a little bit, even a couple of times a week. And then on the reverse side, spending time as a family together is so important. Those are my 15 things I wish I would have known before becoming a parent. I have so many other videos about my favorite products and other motherhood things, so I would love if you subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. I'm so grateful you're here with me on this motherhood journey as together we make it sophisticated.